Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another round of Modern Ballet here in the booth with Ginkgo and Marco.
Hello, everyone.
This match we bring you Boros Ferventblade versus Merfolk, a match I am actually excited for, and a match that is interesting in its how would I say it? A matchup between those two decks should be extremely
It's interesting in their matchupiness.
Yeah, whatever you want to call them. But for those who do not know, Boros Ferventblade is centered around, first of all, Stoneforge Mystic, tutoring up various artifacts such as Batterskull, but most importantly, Sword of Fire and Ice, and the small creature that is Fervent Champion can equip all of them, or mostly all of them, for free.
I think all of them. They all have a equip cost of 2.
The swords, yes, but Kaldra Compleat and the other ones have a little bit steeper cost.
True. So basically, the standard build up for this deck is turn 1 Fervent Champion, turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, get Sword of Fire and Ice, and turn 3 equip that Fire and Ice on Fervent Champion. It's a cute line. It's a fun line. It's a fun deck.
It is a deck that can actually be extremely explosive, but it can also lack in a little bit of firepower. We'll see here what it does. From the Merfolk side, everybody knows Merfolk at this point. They play a little bit of fish, a little bit more of fish, and they mess up your lands, they mess up your creature combat, and they smack you in the face for a lot of damage.
For a lot.
And here we see a little bit of a problem with the deck, actually. Fervent Champion is a 1-mana 1/1 with first strike. On the other hand, we have a Merfolk that's a 2/2. That's it. That's the whole game. We cannot interact because, well, there is a bigger creature on the battlefield, and the Fervent Champion doesn't have an equipment on itself. The other thing is that this creature also messed up the land side, so one of the dual lands is now only an island, which in this deck we do not need. Thankfully, another land is there. It's a pain land, but enough for the Stoneforge Mystic to operate on.
And life is pain as well.
Life is pain. On the other hand, Merfolk does what Merfolk does best. It is smack face for 3, and in the upkeep there is a Merfolk Trickster shutting down the ability of Fervent Champion, tapping it down, not to be used in combat, not to be used for its ability, and
that's just devastating.
Yeah, whatever the Stoneforge Mystic does with its ability, it can no longer equip this turn to the Fervent Champion. Other turn, the next turn, will probably be too late.
Probably.
This is Ragavan played, 2 mana probably held up for the Stoneforge activation to put in a Sword of Fire and Ice, which on this board can only kill the Merfolk Lord. I say only because this is a valiant effort, but we know that when there is one, there is more.
A lot of fish. When there is one fish, there is more. Yeah. It's an old saying. This is not a favorable matchup for the Boros Ferventblade deck.
Definitely not. It should be. On paper, it looks like it should be. There is a lot of removal from the Ferventblade side. Sword of Fire and Ice is literally the thing that stops the whole deck from functioning. But it needs a little bit of setup.
Yes.
And this setup is just devastating, because if you give Merfolk just one turn, they will develop, and they develop exponentially, not linearly. What this means is that one fish deals 2 damage, 2 fish do not deal 4 damage, but 6 damage, and so on and so on.
The question that I'm wondering about, I don't have the list at hand here, and I don't know if this Ferventblade deck is playing Furies.
I do think it is, yes.
Yeah, Fury is a card that can bail you out if you have it early, but it's not a card that you are likely to keep, like prioritize keeping in your opening hand.
It's not something that advances your gameplay.
Yes, exactly.
We see Merfolk has already put the Fervent Blade player down to 5/4 with the activation of the land. The swords get equipped, but all of the creatures now on the other side are at least 3/3, so the
extra 2 damage from the sword
doesn't matter. And this is a problem that we have seen here. There's another pain land on the battlefield for the Fervent Blade player. There is an answer in terms of Skyclave Apparition. They go down to 3. They put in the other sword.
Sword of Haste and Famine.
Excellent sword. Really good in this place. But we'll see. It can be equipped to the Fervent Champion for free, as we said, because all equip cost 3 less to equip the Fervent Champion. So this is extremely angry 1/1 with first strike, wielding 2 swords. There are several triggers that are going on. 5 damage being dealt, then the swords trigger. There is a Sword of Fire and Ice trigger that deals 2 damage to one of the Merfolk.
To any target, but I guess maybe the target is a Merfolk.
There seems to be some debates going on here. What are the targets, and how the triggers are stacked. 2 damage to 1 Merfolk Lord, and before the untap trigger, sacrificing the extra land. Why? Because they will all get untapped, and this is another card draw for the deck.
Much needed. So 1 card draw from the Sword of Fire and Ice, 2nd from the Pain Land, and now the untap happens.
Untapping of the lands and discarding of the card for the opponent. Now, will this all be enough? Probably not.
Okay.
Another 1 down for beautiful plains in play, and if they manage to get rid of 1 lord, the other lord will die because it has 2 damage on it. They go down to 1. They play Skyclave Apparition, targeting the other lord, shrinking the team, but the Aether Vial comes in as a Glasspool Mimic. This will save 1 lord, this will be another lord, and game 1 is done and over in favor of the Merfolk player. Regardless of 2 swords, possibly an ideal start from the Fervent Blade. Nothing to write home about.
Just sad. It's important to note that if the second sword was another Sword of Fire and Ice, 4 damage would kill 1 lord, but I don't think it would be enough.
But still, they had the other lord and the Glasspool Mimic at the ready to copy one of the lords again. So I do not think it will be enough, because there are, I do think, 4 creatures with the Glasspool Mimic, with one of the lords, and 2 other utility Merfolk, so to say, and the Fervent Blade player had only 2 blockers, and they were at 1, so it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe the next card under it would have mattered if it was something like a Fury or Solitude, but this is all speculation on our end. because it could have been pitch cast and kill several of the Merfolk or just
Perhaps
one.
even killing Fervent Champion to gain 5 life.
If it was a Solitude,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, that's also an option. But this was their only source of card advantage and damage dealing.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not think. But yeah, this is all speculation. The game is done and over. Sideboarding. No, how do you think the Merfolk player is sideboarding, if anything?
I don't think a Merfolk player needs to sideboard anything.
Me neither.
To be honest, this is just an awful matchup for Boros Ferventblade, and as I mentioned, and as you all are dear viewers who are also subscribed and commenting down below, as you all saw, it was a neat line. Turn 1 Fervent Champion, turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, turn 3 Sword. It's cute and all, it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
Yeah,
It
so
wasn't fast enough.
one would say an ideal start from the first player. Maybe also an ideal start from the Merfolk
Yeah.
player. Aether Vial into a 1-drop, into a 2-drop, into several lords, into a finisher. It's what the Merfolk does best. And to combat this, you need a lot of pressure.
So I don't know what, if anything, Merfolk Blade needs to side in, but the Fervent Blade player, definitely, if he has some more Furies in sideboard, they need to go in.
Yeah, they definitely need to go in. If I remember correctly, the list plays 2 Furies in the main and none in the sideboard.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but well, you cannot beat everything in Modern.
True.
You can choose to beat anything, but you cannot beat everything.
That's true.
But besides definite removal spells that they will bring if they have something, the Fervent Blade player should also consider something to combat artifacts, because a resolved Aether Vial is definitely something to be scared of. So maybe Wear and Tear, if they have some enchantments, even better. Maybe some other things, I do not know if they play anything else like a braid or
Perhaps.
something similar. But while they are shuffling there, I would like to tell you all a very warm thank you for all of the subscribers that subscribe to our channel, and hope that you are having a good time with us. We definitely are having a great time with you commenting, liking, and subscribing. It helps the channel immensely, and it is free.
Yeah, the community that has started to build around this channel is so amazing, and I really appreciate every single one of you commenting and watching our videos and interacting with us. Lovely people that just warms up our hearts.
Yeah, we have a lot of expansions, a lot of things to build upon here, a lot of improvements to be done, but we are slowly getting there. If there, you will definitely see all of them in due time, either by just visual or audible things that get improved upon, or just something that we tell everybody what we're working on.
Exactly. And now back to this well, 2 amazing decks. I must say that both of these decks are amazing. It's just the case that one has a better matchup against the other.
Yeah, that's sometimes how it goes. But both of the decks mulligan down 2-6, and the Fervent Blade player seems content, and the Merfolk player seems content. And there is the yeet of the Fervent Champion into the face of the Merfolk player for 1. We'll see now how long it takes for the Merfolk to just stone cold hold this thing in position, like you cannot attack ever against the 2/2.
Mm-hmm.
But no Aether Vial, no 1-drop, no nothing, another damage from the Fervent Champion. Fascinating.
Fascinating.
We're making fun here, but this is really one of the downsides of this deck is that you have mopey 1/1s and 2/1s that do not grow except for the sword aspect of the game. And if you cannot fetch up the swords, for example, via your Stoneforge Mystics or other ways, your deck relies on mostly a 3/3, which is a Ranger-Captain of Eos.
Yeah. And there's another thing that needs to be noted. I will repeat myself. I'm not sure what is the full list of this deck, and I don't know if it plays any Ragavans. But Ragavan is another card that this deck heavily relies on. Sometimes when you don't have turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic or something like that, hitting with Ragavan can bring you that opponent's cards to cast.
Yeah.
Something that
we have seen Ragavan game 1 at the end, just being there, not being able to block because everybody had Island Walk. 3 mana, Fervent Champion, maybe going in. Yeah, from the other side, Merfolk Trickster trying to ambush it. There is a Solitude. Pitching Ranger-Captain of Eos. Interesting. Yeah. For 1 damage. So they get two life from the Solitude, then 1 damage less from the Fervent Champion. This is how they ended up at 18. On the other hand, there is another Ranger-Captain of Eos being played. So this is why they...
that explains everything. So what do they find with this Ranger-Captain of Eos?
There are several options. The most important one is definitely Fervent Champion if they have a sword or something else to equip it on, but there is also Ragavan, as you said. There is also the Mother of Runes, Giver of Runes, sorry, and also Esper Sentinel.
And they indeed get a Ragavan. Perhaps the decision. This is a tempo decision. Perhaps.
Yeah, probably because it can be dashed and maybe get in some damage, maybe get in some treasures, and maybe even a card from the opponent's deck. Not to say that they will be able to cast many of them, but we'll see.
A very slow start from the Merfolk deck. So, Fervent Blade deck also had a slow start, but it had Fervent Champion on the board attacking.
Yeah, this is something that should be noted, that it had an almost ideal start. This is Fervent Champion number 2. And probably dashed Ragavan.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there is another line of text on Fervent Champion that says it can pump another knight, I believe, by +1/+0. And this is a line, as they have first strike, they are now 2/1 first strikers, and Ragavan gets chumped by a Merfolk Lord. I do think that the Boros Ferventblade player is happy to see this exchange. On the other hand, also 2 for 7 damage coming through. This is a good start from the Ferventblade. Not a start, but a mid-game plan, I would say. There are 4 mana from the untapped from the Merfolk player. This can be an activation of Mutavaults. This can be another Merfolk Trickster. Or
4 mana subtlety.
Not bouncing anything, just ambushing something in combat. Yeah, another read. Always good to read your cards, seeing what they actually do.
Reading the card explains the cards, I would say.
Wasn't the... okay.
Okay, that's 5 then. 4. 4 because of...
4 because of the Fiery Islet that they had to tap. Yeah. So now we see the problem also being that there is a 3/3 flyer that stonewalls the entire deck without any sword. And this is, I mean, this is a meme right now, but this is actually a big problem. If you do not have a sword or something else to punch through damage, and we see here a lack of removal in terms of either Solitude or Fury being here or any other ones that they could have brought in. But if you do not have a sword to punch through damage, those 1/1s and mostly 3/1s will get stonewalled by the opponent's side of the board. It's not always the case, especially in matchups that do not play such an abundance of creatures. But this is something to be mindful of while playing such decks or playing against such decks.
I think the biggest weakness of this Boros deck is that it's overly fair for the modern meta.
A little bit, yeah. So what is this being played? I do think there are two legendary Otavaras on the battlefield. One was retconned into the hand. We do have a policy of casual Ariel here. Takes backsies are allowed as long as they have been spotted recently and without any harm. Another Merfolk Lord being played. And now the second Otawara hits the battlefield, bring the other one. So there is a 3/3 flyer, a 2/2 on the ground. Finally, a sword on
Not
the battlefield.
Sword that we would like to draw.
Yeah, but still a sword.
Flare, but it is a sword, and it does something.
Yeah. So a Fervent Champion can equip the sword for zero, yes, and it has first strike. So attack with everybody.
Ballsy attack with
Ballsy attack. They are at 4. They need to jump block. There can be lightning bolts and everything else, but I do think that if there was a lightning bolt, it would have eaten one of the creatures already a long time ago. Yeah.
Good point.
But Mutavault can be also activated and traded in for something like the Ranger-Captain of Eos. And the other two cannot actually kill the Fervent Champion.
No.
Because of the first strike, it makes the blocking much harder. Because if they for example block with 3/3 Mutavault, the only way they could kill the Fervent Champion was if they also blocked with the subtlety, because first strike damage would probably get rid of Mutavault, and then the regular damage would trade with subtlety, but also the Merfolk Lord would die. So we will see what this is. So Mutavault being activated and then activating the land, the Fiery Islet to draw a card.
Dropping down to 1.
No fear. And only 2 lands on the battlefield. But also only 2 creatures. This is the sword trigger. I believe that the Boros Ferventblade player is either hellbent or has land in hand. There is another lord. This is problematic. There are 3 creatures now. There is a lot of top decks that can be devastating for the Merfolk player, but there is also the steady pressure of constant creatures upon creatures from the other side. And 18 is not a big number when facing an exponentially growing army of Merfolk.
Yeah, it's important to note that there are only 2 lands on the Merfolk player, but 2 lords, and it can snowball very quickly.
Exactly. And what this means is that they either drew all the gas or traded in all the lands as Fiery Islet for extra cards.
There are 2 or 3 cards in a Boros player's hand.
No, only 1, I do think.
One.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do think it's no
No,
two.
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 So I'm wondering what those cards are. Are they lands? I can't imagine.
I mean, it would be fitting for this matchup, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. True.
Drawing like 8 lands or something through the course of the game, fanning their graveyard, seeing if there's any help from this side, but I do not think there is. Untapping, and as soon as they need to stay back on the battlefield, they lose this game. As soon as they do not
Mm-hmm.
attack
Mm-hmm.
each and every turn with this Fervent Champion. Because if they do not attack, all of those Merfolk have evasion in form of Island Walk, which
Exactly.
currently they do not have,
Yeah.
but Merfolk is nothing if not favored when it comes to having Island Walk. And
Trading for one of the lords.
they do see this. They attack, and we see another land coming from their hand, which means that probably the last card also is a land, and no creatures in hand, no creatures on the battlefield. Another, now this is what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There is the other, there is the Island Walk. The creature is now 3/3. This is an attack for 5. The next attack is coming for 8. The Boros player is thinning their deck, and we will see what the probably last card of this game is. They can still win this. I do think that
Hmm.
it is still winnable. One Fury
One Fury.
gets
That is
this
true.
all
That is
done.
true. That is true.
Um,
I'm not sure if attacking with that Fervent Champion was the correct decision here.
but if they hold back, then the subtlety can just ping them
That's true.
from the
Very,
air.
very difficult position.
Yeah, and once the Tide Shaper and the Merfolk Tide Shaper comes in, they
Mm-hmm.
have Island Walk. They can just swing
Mm-hmm.
without fear of blockers. So I do think it was. Yeah, this is more than enough. This is another Lord bringing the count of damage enough up to kill the Boros Ferventblade. Some misfortune or some deck building choices that have made it difficult to
Mm-hmm.
combat
Mm-hmm.
this Merfolk deck. But Merfolk, don't be fooled, is extremely resilient, extremely good in what it does, and more than capable of winning even the matchups that it is unfavorable to win.
Exactly, especially if the pilot is a good, experienced pilot.
Yeah, it needs a lot of experience, that's true,
Mm-hmm.
but it has
Mm-hmm.
all the tools needed. It's one of the oldest tribes, and
Mm-hmm.
this gives it the inevitability of card pool being so vast. And Merfolk have answers to everything. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
literally have answers to everything from stealing artifacts and enchantments to just getting your opponents dead exponentially, as we said, to disruption in the form of Merfolk Trickster or anything else, locking the opponent's creature down with
Mm-hmm.
Time Binder Mage
Mm-hmm.
and other cards. But this is all from us from this game and match. Thank you all for watching, and we will be here soon with another video.